Hey, what's up, y'all? It's your boy Scarfinger, and I wanted to just hop on this thing real quick, just to say we did it. What did we do? Well, I'll tell you. As of Monday, the show, or Monday the 17th, the show has officially been in existence for 10 years. And I know that doesn't really mean the same to everybody as it does to me, but I just want to say from the bottom of my heart, thank you. Because you're the reason why we've gotten this far. There's been so many times where I didn't want to do it, or, going through some things in my personal life and just a lot of things happening. And it was the love that a lot of people showed me, what made me want to keep doing this. And I am glad that you did, because I can't blame me for that. Because I was in those positions and I very much wanted to quit. I mean, I wanted to quit recently. And so it's been a long, up and down journey to get to this point. And I'm glad we made it here, but I'm also glad of how we made it here, because there's been a few different incarnations of the show. And there was originally, I just wanted to be heard. And so that's when I recorded the stuff originally on my own. Then Jay Bird came around, rest in peace. And then Sherry wanted to get involved, and then the show became a thing. It became a thing outside of just me wanting to be heard. It basically became a thing with a life of its own, honestly. And I didn't know exactly what I was really going to do when it really came down to it. It took a lot of people from a lot of different places, to kind of keep this thing moving. Because if no one was listening, I would still want to do it initially. But there are so many times where I wanted to stop, and it was the listeners who urged me to keep it going. It was the people who, do guest spots that wanted me to keep it going, because they wanted some place to go, that was not going to limit them in what they could do. The idea of the different incarnations of the show, gave a lot of freedom to a lot of people. And it was a thing where I did get to a point to where I wanted this to become something more than what it was. And I will honestly say that during that time, I was the most miserable I've ever been. And it's not anybody's fault, except for I felt like we were moving a little bit far away from what I thought the show should be, which is just, regular people just talking about their experiences. And originally this was supposed to be 100% gaming, but I realized that there wasn't really a place in the gaming industry or the gaming, media, podcast and such for just a regular dude. And because all of the people that we listened to, they were of some sort of stature, and they got to go to all of these places, and they got to see all of these things, and they got to go to E3 and all of this other stuff. People gave them games, and I just didn't feel like they're the regular dude who buys all of his stuff and don't have the connections at Microsoft or Sony or Ubi or somewhere like that. And has to be more discerning about what he does with his money and that kind of stuff. And also someone who is more, has feelings about games outside of mainstream when it comes to things like RimWorld and Prison Architect and things of that nature. I thought that the game needed that. And I'm not saying that the game needed me per se, but I seem to be initially, I seem to be the one that was willing to say it I was willing to say that I think this is something that we need. We need more regular people doing this. And that's what I just became, I guess. I molded to fit the show. And when I felt trapped by that mold, I was very, very saddened by it. And I really hated that stretch of the show. When I was just listening to a lot of people who were just kind of fly-by-nighters and not necessarily like the real listeners to the show. And I started to change myself for the show. And I've never been, outside of my separation, of course, I had never been more miserable in my life. And there has never been a time where I had least wanted to turn a microphone on, during those time periods. But we made it past that, which is the most important thing. Like we made it through all of that, and we did all of that together. And that's the part that means the most to me. Like there's people who have been around since day one. There's people who, came on with one of the other hosts. Like it's just somebody that they knew that just kind of jumped on, whether it was Sherry, whether it was Jaybird, whether it was Big Boy, whether it was Pimp, whether it was Chase, Scott, there's people who came around, Sam right now. There's some people that came around specifically for them. And, I appreciate those people too, but I hope that I gave you a reason to stay, especially when some of those other people left. And in some cases like Big Boy and Jaybird, when they passed away, rest in peace to them both. I hope that I gave you enough reason to stay. And the fact that we've had some sort of staying power with this, even though I don't have the numbers and I don't have the fame that a lot of people have, which is great for me. I think it's absolutely fantastic. I see what people like Rod from the Black Guy Who Tips has to go through every day. And I say that is a part of this podcasting thing that I absolutely do not want. I just want to be me, and I just want to talk to my people. And thank you all for allowing me to talk to my people. I personally, I never thought that I would make it this far. The initial conception of this, I wanted to be on someone else's podcast. I never wanted to do it myself. I wanted to be the black version of E. Well, I've always said that. I wanted to be the black version of E. Back in the day of the Major Nelson podcast, like E would just kind of show up to recordings, unprepared and all that kind of stuff, but he was able to flow with the show. Now, eventually I stopped fucking with E because, he went on a diatribe about Michael Vick and it really kind of pissed me off. So I stopped fucking with him. But like, that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to be kind of the Meef J mercenary of podcasting. And I think like in the early days, I was doing a lot of like guesting on people's shows and that seemed really fucking dope. I just did a guest spot, which is a rare for me these days because I don't get asked anymore. But I recently did a guest spot on Angry Mailman with the bros, especially, I did one with Anthony Alex and Bubba. Not everybody was there, but Anthony Alex and Bubba. And, it's just one of those things to where it's like, yo, I made friends. Like I've met Anthony Alex in person and I consider him to be a friend, not just somebody that I know online or whatever like that. I consider him to be a friend, and I didn't know that was possible until like starting to make podcasts. I didn't know that a podcast friend could actually be considered a real friend. And there's a lot of y'all that I actually consider real friends at this point. So I just wanted to say, man, thank y'all. I know I talk too much. I'm already at 10 minutes or so. And I just wanted to say, like, out of everything that could have happened in my life and everything that did happen, one of the coolest and most miraculous and most awesome things to ever happen to me personally was to be able to turn on this microphone and talk to you and have somebody actually listen. And to have people listening to me for 10 years is one of the dopest fucking things ever. And I appreciate every single one of you for allowing me to do this, because there's under no circumstances did I think that I was allowed to do something like this, because I wasn't one of those other guys. And I didn't have the access and all of that kind of stuff. I didn't think that I would be allowed to do that because I didn't have the bona fides, and I didn't have the access that some people do. And this is kind of a thing that I'm wrestling with right now, because I would love to do more in the marching game or the marching band space, but I don't have those bona fides. And it's really difficult, because I would really love to do that, because I really love marching bands that much. But without those bona fides, I don't feel qualified to be able to speak on this. But that's kind of the same way I felt about this. And we made it 10 years. So I should just do it. I should just Nike that shit. Trademark. So, I don't know. I just wanted to hop on here, and I just wanted to talk to y'all and tell y'all that how in awe of all of this I still am, that we've been able to do this so far. And I say we, because it's not just me. Now I know that I'm at the center of all of this, but this show doesn't work without all of you. Whether it's, you listening, the little bit of feedback that I get, shout out to Ron Block and Mike J. They're the ones that do the most, in the way of feedback. And then the homie Laid Back for still rocking with your boy and still sending me new intros every once in a while. Which I never felt like I even deserved to be on somebody like Laid Back's radar. I know he was a young man when we first started, but like the idea that he has in that time created a whole reality for himself, and to be able to like do DJ gigs and make music, and like in his spare time just set aside some time to just make a theme for me is fucking amazing. And shout out to him, man. Again, shout out to all of the co-hosts and the guest stars and everyone who has spent even a moment with me and and everybody else over the rest of these 10 years. Man, I thank you greatly. This is awesome. And there's no reason for us to stop at this point. Absolutely not. So we can keep this thing rolling. There's a lot of things that we want to do. We're starting to branch out into videos. And we'll start putting all of that stuff in the show notes, because the show notes need to be retooled. So like all of the YouTube pages and Twitches and, all of that kind of stuff. I am going to do a Patreon, and absolutely nobody, the Patreon is pretty much set up. There's some final tweaking that needs to be done. But the Patreon is set up. Absolutely nobody is obligated to do this. Nobody, but I am throwing all of the resources of, the entire Geeks Gone Raw universe into this. So whether it's like, podcasting stuff, video creation stuff, the painting stuff that I do, even at the highest tier, like, hey, if you want some cookies, I'll make you some cookies. Like, all of that is going to be a part of the Patreon, as a way of not feeling like I'm trying to get anybody, because somebody's going to win something every month. Every month I'm going to do something for somebody. And it's only going to get bigger and better from there. And that's what, I think that's what it's all about. Like, you get here and you never thought that you were going to be here. And the only thing that you want to do is to be able to show how thankful you are. And I just am. I know this is just me rambling for 15 minutes. So, man, thank you again to everybody who has ever done anything for the show, whether it's been a part of it, whether you listened, whether you've pressed download but didn't listen. I do that often, for some shows. Whether you downloaded, didn't listen, like, if you've done anything for the show, thank you very much. And, shout out to, the people who aren't around anymore, whether that's Big Boy or Jay Bird, and even to some extent, Mace. Like, I was thinking about Mason earlier today, and okay, never mind. So, like, thank you to everybody that I'm, you know what? I'm just gonna go now. Thank you again. We made it, and that's the most important thing. Out of anything else that I could say, we made it 10 years, and that's fucking awesome.
I like that shit, yeah, boy. Yeah, I'm telling you, Whoa. I'm telling. All right, I ain't gonna talk.